that? Oh, was your phone falling down? Okay. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Smoking and Toasting. My headphones are a little louder today than usual, so that was like...
So you're
whoa.
picking it up?
Yeah. Welcome back. It's show number 142, Smoking and Toasting, and we are thrilled to have you enjoying the program with us. And if you're not enjoying the program, well, get with it.
I just want to point out, when Cruz says... I've put on Cruz's headphones after he's used them, and when he says his headphones are a little loud, that's somewhere near standing in the middle of, I don't know, an arena with Metallica playing.
By the way, says the guitar player in the room. I mean, seriously, I'm surprised you don't have to have them cranked all the way up, because you've had, like monitors and earbuds in your ear and stuff.
For the last 10 years, I've been using in-ears, man.
Yeah.
So, I'm up on stage wailing, and I'm about as loud as we're talking in my ears.
Really?
Yeah, and it's great.
Yeah.
I get off stage, and I pull my in-ears out, and I get in my car, and I want to listen to music.
Instead of yeah, I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. Maxim magazine, so Maxim started out as almost like Playboy, except the girls wore clothes. They would be in lingerie or whatever, but it was a very sort of like sexy young men's
lifestyle
magazine.
kind of thing, yeah.
And then, for reasons completely unknown, they launched other magazines that had that sort of style, and they made Maxim more serious, more like a GQ or something like that. So sometimes when I think about Maxim magazine, I immediately think of the old Maxim magazine, and the reality is that the new Maxim magazine is giving me a lot of ads. And okay, there we go. I wanted to.
So you're familiar with Maxim
magazine? So I'm familiar.
Magazine.
Yes, I am. Yeah, absolutely. With both iterations.
It's all ads.
Yeah. So with both iterations, and it is a lot of ads. But in their continued quest to be a more serious men's magazine, they've released a list of 10 great cigars to smoke right now. So let me go over the 10 with you. I don't believe these are in order of preference, but the first one is the Gurkha Cellar Reserve, which they rated 99. Now, we've been hugely critical of Gurkhas on this show, but I'd like to point out that the Gurkha Cellar Reserve
slips right through those cracks.
It is a fantastic cigar, and we've reviewed it here. Both of us have, and both of us loved it. And it was one we got when we were out of Presidential Cigars. Remember?
Yes. One of the representatives gave it to us.
Yep. The second one, rated 96, is the AJ Fernandez Bella Artes Maduro, and I have had this, and it's wonderful.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right now. The next one, rated 95, is the Monte Cristo number 3. And what's interesting is this is one of the baseline Monte Cristos. This is not one of their, more expensive, larger blends. So that's they are flawlessly crafted by hand, they say, with top quality Dominican grown Cuban seed, long filler, and Connecticut shade wrappers for a taste that's refined, complex, and loaded with delightfully well-balanced, medium-bodied flavor. Wow, a writer was being paid by the word for that. You can just tell. You can just tell. Actually, no. I'm sorry.
By the syllable.
I read one line further, and they credit that to that description to JR Cigar. So now I understand. Now I understand. At number 4, rated also at 95, the Gurkha Ghost Gold. Now, I've not had the Ghost. Have you?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Gurkha, by the way, introducing 3 new cigars for IPCPR
I'm gun shy on Gurkhas right now.
I am, too.
Because every time I smoke one, they fall apart. I'm just gun shy on them.
But here's 2 on this list of 10.
Right.
10 great cigars.
I mean, they're still selling them. I see them in the shops and everything.
Yeah.
They're still selling them, so somebody's buying them.
The Oliva Serie 5 or Serie V Melania Maduro, rated 95.
Yes.
That is a wonderful cigar.
Right now.
The J.C. Newman Diamond Crown, rated 94. This is a Connecticut wrapper cigar, and I will say I haven't had one of these in a long time. They have a tendency to be a little pricey, but the last one I had was fantastic. It was a number of years ago, but it was fantastic. So it's good to see they've kept the quality up well enough to continue to make this list. At number 7, the Casa Fernandez Aniversario Series 2014. Now, this is not AJ Fernandez. This is
Casa Fernandez.
It's got the Miami stamp on the band. At number 8, the Davidoff Yamasa, rated 93. That's a very expensive cigar, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think I've tried that.
It's one of those Davidoffs where
that's above my pay grade.
Yeah, exactly. The Particulares, rated 93. It is a Nicaraguan Puro with the Nicaraguan Corojo wrapper. And at number 10, the Ashton VSG.
Oh,
which
that's a
I haven't had a
great
VSG
cigar.
in a while, but I've always enjoyed those.
That's a great cigar.
So those are their 10 great cigars to smoke right now. And 2 of them were Gurkhas. Isn't that interesting?
I'm curious. I'm still Gurkha curious. I kind of want to like Gurkhas, but they just...
Well, that chairman's,
time.
that little chairman's, that little short, that is a wonderful cigar. That's so good I bought a box of them, remember?
Yeah.
We split a box, as I recall.
Well, we got one of those when we were out at...
The presidential cigars?
Presidential Cigars, and one of the local representatives was there, Jack Cagle, I believe.
Yep.
And he actually laid one on each of us.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I tried it. It was fantastic.
I was like,
yeah,
this is the first time I've ever been given a cigar by you have my vote, sir. All right. I am opening up the next beer. Ian, I'm going to pass that over to you and ask you to pour it.
It's called All Y'all.
So I was looking for, on the internet, something that I had found once, and I was having trouble, to be honest, finding again. But it was a really great definition of the different usages of the phrase y'all. Y'all is not actually a phrase that I use. I say you guys.
You spent a lot of time up north.
Or in California or whatever. But here in Houston, Texas, I can tell you, my wife says it all the time. She says y'all all the time. She'll, like, when somebody does something, she's a little dismayed with, she's like, y'all? That's her way of responding to it, right? And so, of course, I grew up in the Texas area with people that use this all the time. And there was a great little list of the proper ways to use y'all. I haven't found that, but I will share this other one I found with you. English speakers, it says, aren't just limited to y'all to convey their meaning. Y'all meaning basically you guys or a group of people. All y'all, or all of y'all, on the other hand, is an occasional variation some use to mean a group of people. When speaking to 2 or 3 people, you'd say, are y'all going to the movies?
Correct.
Right? When speaking to several people, a group larger than 2 or 3, you'd say, are all y'all going to the movies? So that's where all y'all comes from, is that particular usage. Yeah. It's further complicated, by the way, when you use the possessive form of the word, like, is this y'all's car? Or is this all y'all's favorite color? Something like that. So that's just a little bit of the breakdown of the proper usage, if there is such a thing, of the word.
Don't use y'all
of the
incorrectly.
Word y'all. It's not generally considered appropriate for formal writing, but at this point, it's probably
you could bring levity to your rating with the word y'all, though.
I think so. And I suspect there was an attempt to have some levity when this beer was named, correct?
Oh yeah. All y'all.
Yeah, all y'all. See, it's a Texas thing.
Yep.
Or a Southern thing, at least. Tell us about this beer.
This is a Belgian Pale. We call it a Texas Golden Ale. It's easy drinking. It's about 6.5%. It's if you want a beer, this stays in my fridge. If I don't want something hoppy, I just want something that's not going to be too offensive, overpower stuff. This is my beer. Yeah,
it is sort of that. It's got that go-to vibe to it, doesn't it?
I like the malty roundness right up front on this, and again the carbonation levels. I love the carbonation levels on both of these beers because they're just not so fizzy that like you're not immediately going to be belching right after a few sips of this.
So compare it, Ian, to the wit. How do these two strike you in contrast to each other?
Well, stylistically, obviously, they're different. This one has a little bit rounder mouthfeel overall.
It's definitely maltier.
Especially right up front. I like that malt profile right up front. It has a sweetness to it that kind of lingers, which is really nice, too. So I imagine this is pretty good with especially like Tex-Mex foods and anything with some spices to it. This is going to help calm those spices a bit, especially since it doesn't have a ton of carbonation to it as well.
What I really like about this is, and you mentioned with Tex-Mex food, I think it'd be absolutely perfect, but it doesn't have what a lot of the beers that are kind of targeted for that kind of drinking, that kind of usage, have got a certain little bitter aftertaste that's not what I some beers I'm looking for bitter, but this bitter I'm trying to describe
those are called IPAs. By the way.
Right, exactly. But no, but this kind of bitter that I'm trying to describe is not, it's not pleasant to me. It's like I like the taste of the beer itself in those cases, but then there'll be just that little lingering aftertaste that makes me, I guess I better take another drink. I don't want to just linger with that. This beer does not have that at all. In fact, both of these beers, these first two that we've tried, they just finish beautifully.
So
they don't have anything really lingering that's not a pleasant, smooth sort of a flavor.
It's interesting that you use the word bitter a lot in that sentence, because bitter as a description is a little bit tough because it can be such a negative connotation. Something's bitter, and you think, and then there was, what was that commercial line for a while, the whole bitter beer face thing,
right?
Which was oddly funny. I hate to admit it, but
I love ESBs, extra special bitter, which are bitter on purpose.
Bitter in a beer can be a very good thing.
Right.
This actually has a little bitter snap to the aftertaste before that sweetness hits, but it's a bitter in a way that it doesn't leave that lingering.
Correct.
That lingering aftertaste that you don't want.
You said that so much better than I did.
It's an interesting thing. So the word bitter can mean a lot of
a
lot of things. And in the case of extra special bitters, by the way, I'm putting in that you guys make an extra special bitters, because there's only one local brewery, two local breweries I know that make them, and they're both quite good. And I love ESBs, but and they are a bitter style of beer, but they're not bitter in the way that a lot of people describe bitter, like as a negative connotation by any means. It's a way of you can probably make this a lot better. So I'm going to put my couple cents in, and then you can talk about it. But bitter in the positive sense is a way a brewer takes a beer and kind of has a way of tailoring the aftertaste and cutting it off to a degree, so it's not a lingering whatever happening in the aftertaste. It's kind of like when you have that bitterness in the beer, it just kind of stops it short at a certain part in your palate.
And that's what the sort of creaminess does here.
Like with Brewer,
he's going, I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, we try to balance. Like this beer is it's pretty round. Is the way I like to explain it. It's not got that bitter finish, but whenever we're trying to design a beer, the recipe, you try to balance that bitter with the sweet, because the malt's real sweet. So either we try to make it balanced. That way, you finish, you want another drink.
Well, for instance, if you don't bitter this beer to some degree, right, then what you end up with a beer that's kind of sickly sweet.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, a little too much. And so, in that case, the bitter is a good thing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
So that's
about
backing up
it's
what
about the balance.
That's what I was trying to say about it. Is bitter is something that's used to control how a beer tastes.
Right. Well, if you think there are a number of places where bitter is good, a bittersweet chocolate, for example.
Right.
The same kind of balance between the bitter and the sweet notes keeps it from being like especially as I've gotten older, I don't really enjoy milk chocolate that much.
Right.
It's too sweet for me.
Yeah.
But I like the bittersweet chocolates or the dark chocolates, which have more depth of flavor and don't just go and it's I would guess. I mean, I don't know anything about making chocolate, but I would guess that it's a similar process in terms of finding the balance to making a beer. Do these kinds of beers sell better than people probably think that they do? And because there's so much in the beer geek world, there's so much focus on IPAs and porters and stouts and things that are more more specialty, and yet I'm wondering if these beers maybe don't sell a lot more than people think that they do.
Well, they're definitely not as hyped as the IPAs.
Yes, for sure.
But yeah, they sell really well. This is, like I said, this is my go-to. I keep it in the fridge, and a lot of other people, they find that too. If you just want to grab a beer after work, you don't want something that you're going to have to, that's super offensive or have to really sit down and, this is a beer that you can pick up. You don't have to think about it.
Right.
You need to down it.
It's just very easy drinking.
This
very
is a
crushable.
beer that if I have a friend, and that's in air quotes, come over that drinks macro brews all the time.
Right.
Okay. That's in air quotes because of the macro brew thing. So I don't want to admit it. Anyway, no, I'm just joking about that. But I mean, if I have a friend that's what they're used to drinking, okay, and I don't carry any of that in my refrigerator. As a matter of fact, if you leave a 6-pack of Miller Lite in my refrigerator, it's perfectly safe unless I'm barbecuing and I need to cool down my coals a little bit. It's absolutely safe.
Until you return, it's safe.
Right.
Yes.
It's not going anywhere, I promise. But this is the kind of beer where if someone goes, "Oh, well, I usually drink some macro brew kind of thing," I would say,
I
"Well,
usually
here,
drink Coors Light or whatever."
this is on the lighter side, flavor-wise, but with flavor.
Now,
This is something that I would introduce someone to because it has a nice sweetness and it's not a real bitter beer. You know, I'm certainly not going to be like, "Here's a Founder's breakfast stout. Try that."
Right,
you know.
yeah. Well,
Exactly.
I think of like Pat, my friend and business partner.
Uh-huh.
Now, Pat has definitely kind of made the switch from macro brews to craft, but he doesn't care for IPAs. He doesn't want that kind of hoppiness or bitterness, and he doesn't really like the bigger, bolder. Both of these first two beers he would love because they've got flavor, but they're not venturing into the flavors that just don't really appeal to him.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
And I guess what I was getting at is I think maybe there's more of those people out there than we think they are.
Yeah.
But they just don't get the same sort of hype. You know, you read about beers on the internet and stuff. The press and stuff has a tendency to go much more to the specialty thing or the.
Well, it's not a
IPAs.
pineapple goza that's so far out of the range of like what you want to.
Hey, I love a good pineapple.
I would try it, but
Yeah.
Well, there's like the beer that we had last week was the Mojito Goza, and it was good and very interesting. But I don't see him becoming
certainly not a daily drinker,
right? A very big sort of like I'm going to have these in my fridge at all times kind of a beer. I enjoyed it, but I didn't find myself thinking, "Wow, I've got to add this to my regular rotation."
No, so what's really cool about both of these beers is I actually know one of the guys that works at the brewery, so I'm gonna hit him up for some.
I see where you're going. I see where you're going.
But also, this beer's interesting enough where you get the banana notes from the Belgian yeast. There's something there to keep interest in the big craft brewer.
That bananas, that sweetness on the finish that I couldn't quite nail it until you said it, and then it clicked into place. Yeah.
Absolutely. And a lot of times when you think of banana, you think more like a Hefeweizen to get that kind of flavor, but it's definitely present in this. Definitely present. All right. Well, I'm digging this. We're gonna delve into some more of these beers in a moment. Plus, we have some tequila to sample, and I did promise. I did promise, by the way, that we were going to get to this story about the best independent American whiskeys from Uprocks. I think you'll be real interested.
I want to hear about that.
Going to be real interested in this list. So we'll talk spirits a little bit when we return, plus more beers from Bakfish. Caleb from Bakfish is our special guest, and we will be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Yeah, very, very good.
Thank you.
Very, very good.
Can you grab those other ones?
Yeah.